Okay, welcome everyone, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to start our program to James Taylor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is James Taylor. I'm the CEO of the John Bonner Neighborhood Centers. I guess you could say we're broadcasting from the world headquarters of the Neighborhood Center. I'm absolutely thrilled and honored to be a part of this important announcement today. The news being shared today is really a culmination of almost 12 years of work by residents and organizations of the Eastside community of Indianapolis. To get today's announcement started, I'd like to introduce Blair Milo, who is the Secretary of Career Connections and Talent. Blair?
Well, thank you so much, James. It's very encouraging for us to be with you today, and very, very much excited in many ways to be able to celebrate the work that you have so dedicated over the last few years. But I also want to recognize that while we are excited to celebrate some things, I think maybe a better word is actually saying that it's really an encouraging day, in recognizing so many things that are happening around us, and a lot of the different aspects that have happened over the last few months, and certainly the last few weeks, and they are continuing to play out. And I so appreciate the conversation that I got to join this morning, that the Work Council has had, of all the tremendous work that is coming forward. And so I am encouraged that in the midst of everything that is happening around us, that we have the opportunity to recognize the tremendous work that has happened thus far, and that it's going to continue to move forward in really important ways to ensure that we are meeting individuals where they are and addressing some of the barriers to opportunity that have persisted in too many ways, and really trying to collaborate even deeper than we have previously, and to come alongside one another in really profound ways, to understand what some challenges may be, and how we adjust to ensure that we are meeting those challenges to create opportunity that is so critical for us to move forward. And so today's designation is really, like I said, an encouraging one, to be able to recognize the work that has gone into being able to come together to think about how we are attracting, developing, and connecting talent to the Eastside Economic Mobility or Recovery and Mobility District, and use data to be able to ensure that we are addressing how we do that effectively and efficiently moving forward to, as I said, really meet Hoosiers where they are. And it is really incredible to be able to be a part of this group here today. Not only the Work Council that joined before, but so many partners who are so dedicated to ensuring that we are connecting individuals and families and neighborhoods and our communities up to opportunity, and particularly as we think about what that looks like and how that's transitioning over these new days, and particularly as we see a new economy start to emerge, and think about how we work together to ensure that opportunity is available to all. And so I do want to just then kind of lay a little bit of a foundation for those who may not be as familiar with some of the work of the 21st Century Talent Regions Initiative. But this was an initiative that was launched by Governor Holcomb and his team at the beginning of last year, and we have been so thrilled to partner with many regions across the state, and with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, with many partners, with Civic Lab as a technical assistance provider, and many different organizations from a state level, as well as all the partners that are gathered here and beyond, to be able to think a little bit about who all do we have working towards things like attraction, development, and connection of talent, And how might we collectively move together to ensure that we are thinking about goals that we outline within those three categories of areas, with talent attraction being defined as growing the population, with talent development having a measurable around how we are connecting people and growing the number of folks that have a post-secondary credential of whatever sort, whether it be a high-value certification, industry certification, a 2-year associate's degree, a 4-year bachelor's degree, even post-baccalaureate degrees, to increase that to at least a 60% level and hopefully beyond, as we recognize different types of requirements and skill needs that new types of job opportunities are asking for as the economy continues to evolve, particularly as a result of technology that is playing a larger and larger role. And talent connection being a measurable that we look at of median household income, or a number of different variations around that theme, sometimes looking at average weekly earnings or per capita personal income, so that we are truly trying to understand and move the needle in growing that economic mobility for all of the individuals whom we are working to serve. And the idea came from recognizing that there are a whole lot of things that play into this system, and so many partners that are critical for being able to address these different challenge areas. And so that's where we wanted to provide some tools and some technical assistance through Civic Lab to be able to organize some of these different pieces in ways to think about how do we collect all the great partners, how do we know who's doing what and where, and then how does that align towards goals that we've set for ourselves within those three different areas. And so as a part of the designation process, then it's like I say, encouraging for us to be able to recognize the work that has gone into identifying just those things to be able to have some really valuable tools moving forward, recognizing that these tools and the documents that I'm going to share with you really are living documents, that the partners continue to evolve, the work continues to evolve as we tailor different needs, as we respond to different needs overall. And so the first thing I want to share with you all as a part of the work that has been done by the Work Council and others is the stakeholder engagement map. And this, as you can hopefully see on your screen now, is a representation. This is the first iteration, I think, of a stakeholder engagement map that gives a sense of who's kind of all coming to the table and how they fit into different components of talent attraction, development, and connection, as you see outlined there in the three different aspects of this circle. I'm recognizing that for many of these organizations and initiatives, and they don't fall just cleanly into sometimes just one area. Some do, but sometimes there are different pieces that people are working on. And so we're able to take from that and then apply it into the next tool that the Work Council helped develop, which is the talent dashboard. And the dashboard then helps collect a lot of different pieces that all feed into ensuring that we're reaching these goals. And I will draw your attention. I know it's probably hard to read some of these numbers and the specific things on the screen. So hopefully, thank you for helping zoom in a little bit. If you look at on the left-hand side in the blue columns, you have your three different categories of talent attraction, talent development, and then talent connection. And then next to that, you've got some yellow categories that are data points that recognize a little bit of where we are right now based off information that we're able to gather from a number of different data sources. And then I'm going to kind of, for the moment, skip past some of this intermediate or the middle section of the gray areas, and then draw your attention down to the lower right-hand section that outlines, as we knew it, and as we will continue to know more pieces of what the economy looks like, of industry areas that are prevalent within the Eastside Economic Recovery and Mobility District, and occupations, growing occupations, and volume of of careers that are hiring into those different industry areas, so that then we've got a sense. If you think about that left-hand side is sort of where we are. This lower right-hand corner is where we need to get to. And the middle section is how are we going to get there? What are the things that we have in place, and what are the goals that we have set for ourselves to ensure that we are getting to sort of some of the destinations that we're hoping to connect individuals up to, of higher wage positions that take advantage of skill building opportunities, and attract people to the region so that they see it as a place of opportunity, for the place of opportunity that we know that it is. And so I wanted to demonstrate these tools as key elements of the designation process, and what we're able to recognize today is this milestone through the designation of having these tools put together, but also knowing that our work in many ways that is still harder yet ahead of us, and that now we have a consolidated space to be able to see, as the term denotes, a dashboard of our progress along the way, of key work that we have to do yet, and how we're doing towards that, and being able to adjust our efforts as needed as we see different things at play, and different needs that our neighbors have throughout this process. And so as we think about not only what this is, then we also think about, so what's next with all of this? And we'll get to hear a little bit more about the goals that the committee or the work council has put into thinking about what can come next, so that this is not meant to be, okay, now we built these charts and our work is done. It's thinking, well, now how do we leverage these tools to continue our efforts in a meaningful way to connect opportunity to all of our neighbors that we're working to serve. And so we'll continue utilizing those and being able to tie in with the Indiana Talent Networks that some of you may have heard a little bit about on the Work Council call beforehand. That is a collection of many of the different regions that are establishing across the state, so that there are co-learning opportunities. And I really want to draw your attention, I guess, towards that, and to a conversation we had just yesterday with the quarterly meeting of the Indiana Talent Network, where we had a co-learning opportunity to think about how we use census tract data to get to a hyper-local level around what kinds of efforts and focuses need to be in place to ensure that we are meeting the needs of Hoosiers where they're at, and recognizing from a state perspective that we can't do that without great partnerships with key leaders who are on the front lines of connecting with Hoosiers and who are hurting in many different kinds of ways as a result of the pandemic, as a result of a number of different things that have been at play for a number of years, and how we can think about how we do that better moving forward. And so the other piece as to what's next, and I think Commissioner Lubbers is going to share a little bit more of some of the pieces that I think many of you can probably connect with this, that we are in some ways building an airplane as it's going down the runway, of trying to develop rapid recovery efforts as we think about how we expedite some of the different resources and tools that are available for individuals to connect up, particularly as we think about ensuring individuals have access to education and training opportunities to get some high wage, high demand certificates, or connect into 2-4 year or beyond degree programs to move into those careers that provide access to the economic mobility that we're all working so hard to provide. And so we'll have a number of different pieces that connect in there, but none of that works as effectively as if we then connect with all of you to ensure that we are dialoguing regularly, just like you did on the Work Council call, of who's doing what, where, what are you hearing, how do we need to evolve any of these pieces, what do we need to adapt, and we look forward to continuing to work with you on those different efforts. And with that, then I want to say thank you for the incredible work that you have done thus far. Thank you for your continued dedication to this work. And thank you for the passion and the refusal to give up in the face of challenges that present themselves at various different times, because we are committed to ensuring that we create opportunity for all along the way. And so it is my distinct honor to now introduce our next guest, who she and her team have been critical partners of, not only leading some of the rapid recovery efforts with the governor's workforce cabinet, but really trying to help develop opportunities of connecting an entire statewide system and individuals up to ensuring that we are not only meeting, but eventually surpassing our goal of getting 60% of the population connected up with a post-secondary credential. And that is our Commissioner for Higher Education, Teresa Lubbers. And she is a tremendous partner with a passion for the work of serving individuals and connecting them to opportunity. And Teresa, I will turn it over, Commissioner Lubbers, I will turn it over to you to share some thoughts this afternoon.
Thank you, Secretary Milo. It's my privilege to be here with you today and share a few thoughts about the ways in which the state's work overlaps with the work that's being done on the East Side with the Eastside Economic Recovery and Mobility District. Someone who works at the state level, I care about what happens in every place of the state, but I have to tell you that I have a special affinity for the work that's happening on the East Side of Indianapolis. I grew up going to church on the East Side of Indianapolis at Emerson in New York. I went to school on the East Side. I did my student teaching at Howe High School. And so for multiple reasons, I care about the economic recovery of this part of our city and our state, with a special personal affection for the people and places and services that take place on the East Side. I too had a chance to listen in for for a part of the time for the work committee group. And so I did get a sense of the good work that's underway, the great example of collaboration, but I think it's safe to say too, an increased sense of urgency about the work that we need to do. That's been accelerated by recent events and COVID-19 and all the ways in which we have a vivid reminder of the fact that we are leaving too many people behind, and an obligation to make sure that we do better in the future. As Secretary Milo indicated, I serve as the Commissioner for Higher Ed and also have the privilege of being the chair of the Governor's Workforce Cabinet. And we've been focused for many months on bringing a better future to every Hoosier. And that, in fact, we would address these issues of income disparity and social stratification wherever they might be. Our goal has been to really build personal prosperity and well-being to meet the needs of employers, especially in high demand growing industries, and to strengthen and diversify our state and our regional economies. And it seems to me that what we're doing today is perfectly aligned to that work as well. In the short period of time that I have with you, I want to highlight 3 areas that I think have overlap and that we can actually work together on in the future. One is this work that we're doing, Rapid Recovery for a Better Future. And it's really focused, sort of our tagline for this is your next step. You know, we have found out that there is a great deal of anxiety and uncertainty right now, and sometimes getting people to think about their future with long is very difficult. But getting them taking your next step in a positive way, having a path forward. You know, the idea that that we have your back so you can move forward, and that's the work that we've really been doing. And I'll give you a sneak peek at what's going to happen in the next couple weeks. We will be announcing a plan to accelerate these efforts, launching Rapid Recovery for a Better Future. And the good news is, not only because of the Governor's Workforce Cabinet, but our other programs and policies, we can scale immediately without creating new ones. So I heard you talk today about the need for high demand certification, certificates, some sort of a credential that's aligned to the needs of the economy. And that's exactly what we're going to be through the Workforce Ready Grant, which provides tuition-free certificates to people in high demand areas. So someone can come back, and we have over 150 of those certificates, both credit and non-credit bearing certificates, that immediately will get someone a job, and that will meet the needs of employers as well. And With additional federal funding, we're going to be able to scale that program at a higher level, include some certificates that we had not been able to include before. So some of those may be ones that immediately get a person a job, for example, a CNA or CDL for truck driving. Others will be ones that have a longer runway in healthcare and technology. But all of them could ensure someone that if you spend some time getting one of these certificates, you will get a job. The companion piece to that is the employer training grant, where we provide funding to employers to train their current workers and to bring new workers in as well. Our goal is to expand the reach of the employer training grant as well. So stay tuned. Those announcements are coming very shortly as we build on the good work that's already taking place, and I know that you're interested in. I also want to focus just for a second on the Commission strategic plan, which is called Reaching Higher in a State of Change. We've been working on that for a long time. We voted on it last year, long before we saw some of the changes that were actually taking place. And in partnership with the Department of Workforce Development and their WIOA plan, both plans focus on people. They focus on talent, as I know these talent networks do as well, really identifying the needs of the individual to be prepared for the changes in the economy. I often say, you know, we may not like all the changes that are taking place, but there's a power about change that can either overtake us or we prepare for it. And we use that as an opportunity to be better in the future. Our major components of our strategic plan as a commission are completion, getting people to complete what they start, equity, and by that we actually define equity as that a person's life circumstances shouldn't limit or dictate their opportunities for success. We identified equity as a part of that strategic plan, along with the need to develop talent. And we have 5 strategies that do that, but especially important to the work here, I think, today is our need to recognize those brokers of goodwill, those organizations that are on the ground doing the work and have the most connection with the individuals. So those can be faith-based communities, community organizations, philanthropy, teachers. Who are the people and the places and the organizations that are most likely to be able to take a person's personal need and aspiration and align with opportunities that are out there? You know, government programs are great, but people won't come to a government program unless someone convinces them that there's a good reason to do that. So we really look forward to partnering with those organizations like the designation that's going to be recognized today. And then I just want to, I know I'm limited in time, but I do want to make a special call out to the 21st Century Scholars Program. We celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Scholars Program last year. This is our promise to young people growing up that if you work hard when you're in school, that there will not be a barrier to you entering higher education. And it isn't just a 4-year degree. Some people think that the Scholars Program is for 4-year degrees, and we certainly pay for that at both public and private schools, but it's for 2-year degrees and it's for high value certificates as well. So I talk about this because, you know, this is hope. This is a visual way for people to see the future. And so the combination of the Workforce Ready grant for adults who can go back and get a certificate, the 21st Century Scholars Program says to young people, you work hard in school and higher education is in your future too, means that we can really tell everybody there is a path forward through education and training. Secretary Milo mentioned our 60% goal. The 60% goal is important, not just because it's a number, but because it's aligned to the needs of the economy. We're at a little over 43% and we're making progress, but once again, we need to do so with a greater sense of purpose and urgency if we're going to ensure that people aren't left behind. I look forward in my role at the Commission and with the Governor's Workforce Cabinet to partnering with each of you to make sure that that happens in really significant ways on the east side of Indianapolis. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for those remarks and for the tremendous work you and your team are providing and partnering all along the way. And it is next my honor to introduce a partner who has been a part of this initiative from its inception, even though she was in a different role at the time, and someone who is no stranger, in fact, has been a leader and a visionary and an innovator in many ways from creating her own business and leading it very successfully, to then thinking about how we can take an organization like the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, where she was president for a couple of years before being asked by Governor Holcomb to now step into a new role as the first secretary and CEO of the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, which she's going to share a little bit more about in just a second. But she has been a tireless champion for collaboration and recognizing the value in partnership between the state and our regional organizations, and thinking creatively about how we can support all of those efforts. And so it is my pleasure to introduce our next leader, who is a part of this conversation and continues to be a big part of our work, Secretary and CEO Elaine Bedel.
Thank you, Secretary Meyer. I appreciate that. Okay, am I getting a little feedback here? Is that better? Okay, sorry about that, everyone. But first of all, let me say congratulations. I know how hard it is, because I've done it, to be part of a group that comes together, that you may not know everybody around the table, you may not know what perspective they bring, and you're confronted with a problem that you then need to figure out. And that's sort of the situation that you're in. But it is so good to work through that. And you have this great feeling when you get to this point today, where you can say, okay, we took the problem, we tore it apart, we put it back together, we threw our ideas out, and we came to a consensus on the direction that we need to go. It's a start. It's not the end game, it's not where you want to be, but it certainly is a start in this long journey to really make the improvement that you all want to see within your region and within the state as a whole. So congratulations. And we look forward to kind of continuing to work with you in this process and some of the things that we're doing as well. Blair mentioned regionalism. I really am a strong proponent that you need to have a regional approach to everything that you're doing. No one knows the boundaries of a county or a municipality or a city, because when they come to Indiana, you live in Indiana, you start a business in Indiana, those boundaries are invisible. And so to do the best part to bring everyone together, we need to think about that from a regional perspective as well. So again, congratulations on moving that direction and setting up those regions, because when you have a diverse group of people around the table with diverse backgrounds and diverse experiences, you're going to have better conversations, and the result's going to be a better decision. So keep at it, even though I know it's hard work. As Blair mentioned, I was with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, serving as president when this little project got started, and was thrilled to kind of support Blair and her efforts, because the experience at the IEDC with regional cities, which started in 2015, was very positive. You know, everyone was asked at that point to come together as a region and to plan and to hopefully put on paper what they needed for a quality of life, what their communities needed to help people who are there have a better quality of life, but to attract others as well. And the thing that we learned from that, even though 7 regions made applications, 3 were accepted and received funding for their projects, the other regions were able to move forward too. Because once a developer would come into an area and see the plan that said, everyone in our region says, this is what we need to do, we want this, it was telling that developer, it's not build it and they may come, it was build it because we want it, and it takes the risk out of that. So that again, that regional think, that regional mentality, that regional consensus is what takes an awful lot of risk out of someone coming into your area and really making an investment and helping to move that forward. So again, as Blair mentioned, I'm now with the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, still going to be connected, because what we're all about there is, let me back up. We were created and we won't become effective until July 1st. So we got a little bit farther to go, 1 more month, and we'll be actually in place. And the whole purpose of the legislation to create this new quasi-government was to replace the Indiana Office of Tourism Development, which is all about bringing visitors to our state. But the governor and the lieutenant governor greatly expanded that mission, and now it more is to promote brand, and to tell Indiana's authentic story, to be able to attract and retain businesses, talent, students, as well as visitors. So we are trying to set the perception of Indiana, to tell Indiana's story. And that's where we're going to be coming right back to you to tell your success stories as well. Because when success breeds success, and when we can share your story with others, it will help others, but also it will bring more resources, hopefully more investment, and help bring other talent to your region as well. And so that's going to be the purpose of the IDDC. And I know we'll be coming back because we've already started a little project to kind of define all of the attractions around the state. And so part of your dashboard, we hope at one point in time, will be what are those quality of place assets that are within our region and easily accessible right outside the region. So you again have more knowledge on what you have there and the whole story that you can be telling and what you have to be working with. So again, it's been an interesting process to move from one entity to another and try and get this started for the state. And again, I've gone through a process with our own council of trying to pull individuals together, trying to face a problem that we have today because of the pandemic, because in many ways, the leisure and travel related businesses that we have in Indiana have been the hardest hit, as you might think, the restaurants, the attractions, the hotels. And right now we're focused on trying to make sure they survive as well as thrive in your region and every other region around the state. So we're kind of focused on that as well. And so bringing thoughts together to figure out what's the solution is kind of similar to what you've done in starting your 21st Century Talent region. So I can close with those comments, but just to say again, congratulations. It's hard work. You've made it this far. You've brought the people around the table. You've got the mechanism in place now as you move forward to bring every other problem that may come up to a group that's got like-minded perceptions on things that need to be done for your perception, for your region. So again, congratulations. And thank you for allowing me to be part of this. So let me pass it back to Secretary Blair Milo.
Thank you so much, Secretary, and thank you for helping bring some of this full circle too, as Commissioner Lubbers talked about some of the talent development side, and certainly we had a number of conversations with the Work Council earlier about talent connection, of connecting people to career areas with higher wage opportunities, and then thinking about those talent attraction pieces too. And I especially want to recognize that when I look at your dashboard for the Eastside Economic Recovery and Mobility District, one of the items listed is the early childhood comprehensive systems as a focus area of how we think about leveraging those kinds of opportunities for our neighbors, for our residents to be able to connect into opportunity and to have people then want to choose the Eastside District as a place that they want to bring their families because it's being opportunity is clearly available there from the earliest ages of the residents. And certainly that's been a part of conversations with the talent network of the Indiana Talent Network. We dug into some of Raj Chetty's work yesterday of looking at how the earlier a child is connected to a neighborhood that has so many of the different components that are connected to increasing opportunity, educational components of different types of economic aspects, the transportation pieces, which I know the group talked about earlier, that's really critical. And so it's now my pleasure to be able to not only think to champion those pieces, but to bring forward the leader of these efforts and introduce a gentleman whom I am so thankful to have the opportunity to get to work with and to get to know. And I know many of you have had the opportunity to connect with James Taylor over the years with his tremendous work as 21 years of being committed to the John Bonner Neighborhood Center. And not only with the number of pieces that are coming forward now, but the tremendous work that has started from being at raising $1.4 million per year to now having well over $10 million having been able to create the opportunity for the district to receive the 2012 Super Bowl Legacy Project with $154 million in local investment, to having the region designated as a promise zone through federal legislation and then opportunities and resources connected with that, and continuing the work on as we look at not only 21st century talent regions, but thinking about how different opportunity zone pieces fit into all of these elements and how we continue to align these different pieces, none of which is possible without not only the great partners that we've discussed, but a tremendous leader who is helping drive a lot of that work. And so, James, I will turn it over to you to talk a little bit about what this means for the neighborhood center and for other partners moving forward.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary Milo. You know, one of the amazing things is the Eastside community has been and is just a real can-do kind of community. It's one that residents and local organizations, we just have a foundational belief that we can create our own vision and that we have within our own power to create the kind of change we seek for our neighborhood and we seek for our neighbors. And it's very empowering to see residents come together and help support the creation of the vision that feeds into, you know, this designation. I will say we are a plucky group, you could say, and perhaps sometimes feisty, but, you know, fundamentally we understand together and with the support of broader community partners, local, state, and federal partners, we can leverage our own talents to achieve really extraordinary results. You know, the vision for the Eastside Economic Recovery and Mobility District was born last year, and originally it was called the Eastside Mobility District. But with the obvious economic impact, we realized there's really two components for success in our community. It's recovery and mobility. You know, the latest figures I saw, 21% of Marion County residents that filed for unemployment live within the district. And that's in contrast to only 10% of the population of Marion County living within our district. So, you know, it's disproportionate in terms of the economic impact that has occurred in our community. But as we were forming the district, we really put two fundamental principles in play. One is economic equity and social equity, and the importance of promoting those through not only this designation, but multiple ways to create social justice in our community that addresses marginalized populations, those that have been left out, the have-nots, those that haven't been able to participate in the mainstream economic system as part of it. And so the goal of prosperity, that's what we want to do, is create prosperity within our community. Talent development is just a critical element of that, you know, every child that is in our neighborhood has a pathway to lifetime success, that every adult finds economic stability and growth and access to good and promising jobs, that we grow our community's economic system and bring back high-paying jobs. Just to give you a little perspective, there's a 50-acre vacant piece of property in the middle of the district that used to house RCA. And at its heyday, there were 6,500 good-paying, middle-income jobs that drove the economy of our community. Elvis Presley's first 45 was actually pressed at this site. And so when we do a survey of the entire district, there are in total 473 acres of what was once job-producing real estate within our community. You know, some of that may, you know, sound like a grim reminder of what was in our neighborhood, but we just see this as an extraordinary opportunity to build a new future based upon new employment and high growth sectors. So creating jobs and creating talent and bringing those together within our community. And we can achieve so much more if we create that right kind of talent pipeline that's tied to the industry that is existing in our community and the future ones that may come back to our community. And as Secretary Milo said earlier, we didn't do this alone. There were over 30 some partners that were a part of this work in putting together the plan. Too many for me to name here, but I do want to acknowledge the following, specifically Indianapolis Public Schools, Employ Indy, Local Initiative Support Corporation, Inglewood Community Development Corporation, the Mayor's Office in the City of Indianapolis, as well as a very special shout out to my sister community centers, the Edna Martin Christian Center and Southeast Community Services. I also want to acknowledge the hard work of my staff, including John and Jake and Dean and Carla and Lindsay for their hard work and community organizing skills. I mean, that's really what this is about. It's a system of organizing organizations, but using community organizing kinds of practice. So to formalize today's announcement, I will once again turn it over to Secretary Milo. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, James, and greatly appreciate all the work that you, and just as you mentioned, the team, we've so appreciated the opportunity to work closely with Jake Goslin from the AmeriCorps Vistas, who has been an incredible leader for our team, as well as we have learned from him on some of the work and questions that he has brought forward along the way. John Berg has been an incredible partner throughout with, again, different questions that have helped us to further think about what the opportunities can be for us with 21st Century Talent Regions overall. So, and I know that they all were sort of conduits of you just referenced, James, 30 plus, and hopefully whom are being captured on the stakeholder engagement map. So we continue to be able to acknowledge and recognize who's all on the team and who's bringing what different pieces forward. And so now it is my distinct pleasure to be able to do a modified version of what was previously a handoff of the proclamation, but which we'll do our best to then be able to recreate that. That is still very much then expressing the sentiments and the true reflection from Governor Holcomb through this proclamation, which reads, an executive order proclamation to all to whom these presents may come, greetings. Whereas the state of Indiana has cultivated a strong and diverse economy to ensure Indiana remains an attractive destination for companies to start here and existing companies to reinvest, grow, and innovate here. And whereas Hoosier businesses, workers, communities, and students alike are impacted by rapid advancements in technology, changing their awareness of and access to infrastructure needed to ensure the skills necessary to compete in a global marketplace. And whereas talent attraction, development, and connection are keys to continued economic investment growth, and whereas growing 21st century talent is no longer the province of any single agency, organization, or unit of government alone, but involves collaboration across public and private sectors at the state, regional, and local levels. Whereas the 21st Century Talent Region Initiative was launched to ensure every student is on a learning path to adult prosperity. Every adult Hoosier has access to training aligned to work with future growth opportunities, and every employer has the tools they need to recruit, train, and retain talent. And whereas the Eastside Economic Recovery and Mobility District has committed to working across geographic lines to attract, develop, and connect talent while working together with the Office of Career Connections and Talent, Indiana Economic Development Corporation, and Civic Lab. The region is developing a data-driven plan to grow population, increase educational attainment, and raise household income. Whereas the Eastside Economic Recovery and Mobility District commenced implementation of priorities identified in the plan to receive a designation as a 21st Century Talent Region and identified the goals to, 1, use the 21st Century Talent Region dashboard to identify and prioritize supporting regional initiatives that need sustainable resources to accomplish their goals. 2, organize and coordinate workforce training opportunities across community organizations in the talent region to develop a consistent calendar of opportunities residents can access. 3, partner with the Indiana Business Research Center and Indiana Management Performance Hub to ensure consistent long-term data reporting and evaluate current and inform future talent development and connection programming. And 4, collaborate with neighboring communities and the Central Indiana region to further increase educational attainment, raise household income, and grow population. Now, therefore, I, Eric J. Holcomb, Governor of the State of Indiana, do hereby designate the Eastside Economic Recovery and Mobility District as a 21st Century Talent Region and invite all citizens to duly note this occasion. And it is signed by Governor Eric Holcomb. And as you can see, it is inside the very fanciful folder. And we'll have an opportunity to then be able to display this official document and share it widely then with all those who contributed towards making this designation happen. The last piece I do want to recognize too is that for anyone who may have connections, I think it kind of started in the military community, but may have expanded to others, that we have a tradition, and I come from a Navy background myself, that commanders then offer a challenge coin as a part of recognizing outstanding efforts of members of the team who have done tremendous work. And so we now have a 21st Century Talent Region challenge coin that then recognizes all of the work that has gone into that, and hopefully we'll have a chance to get that to many of the partners along the way when we have a chance to get back together. And I'll leave it all to you to look up what some of the implications can mean if you don't have your challenge coin with you at certain times, particularly if you're in a social setting with some adult beverages. So I will leave it at that. And so I want to say thank you again for all of the incredible work that the team has put into making this milestone. And it is important to note it as a milestone, but one of continued collaboration along the way that we look forward to continuing to work with you on so many different opportunity areas and ensuring that we're connecting individuals up to just that opportunity that we talked about thus far. I will turn it back over to, I believe, then Rachel at this point, and then if we have any further elements to address.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who joined. You are now dismissed, and thank you for joining us. Those who may be part of the media are welcome to stay tuned in, and our speakers will stay online to answer questions you may have. As folks are logging off and as you are staying tuned in, if you have questions, please go ahead and click the participant pane at the button at the bottom of your main pane options. As the participant pops up, you will see that next to your name, you can click the raise hand button. And for anyone who has questions, as those hand raises come up, we will just go ahead and call on you to ask your questions.
And I apologize that I actually got a little ahead of myself, that I don't want to cut off James, that if there are any further closing remarks that you wanted to share, then I'm sorry I missed that on the program here. And so James, anything else that you want to share before we move into question and answer from anybody?
Yeah, just real quickly, I want to first of all say thank you to Governor Holcomb for this designation, and especially for his leadership and of him and his team during this health crisis. Thank you, Secretary Milo, Commissioner Lubbers, Secretary and CEO Bedel, for your leadership and partnership with our community. As I said earlier, this is a culmination of well over 10 years of work by our communities, and I'll leave you with this thought. What makes me proud about our neighborhood is we were setting a vision based upon equity, not in response to something, but because we believed in something. And I think this really sets our neighborhood on a different trajectory. It's the next evolution of our work as a community. So thank you everybody who came today, and we'll stick around for questions.